Welcome to Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Casey Porter here, joined by Austin Brubaker. Kind of a clunker today, and this is kind of the part of the season, Austin, where you've played a bunch of games, and it's like, hey, let's start playing for real, I mean, I know spring training, Coach Holt and I got into a conversation about how spring training definitely matters, but still you're kind of in that lull, so it's like, Yoshinobu Yamamoto gave up some runs today, so what are your takeaways?
Yeah, no, it is really kind of the official end of spring training for the Dodgers. They are moving on. They're getting on those flights, headed out to Korea pretty soon. I don't know exactly when the flights are actually going to leave, but that is going to be happening pretty soon for the Dodgers. There's a lot of good things, a lot of good signs that happened through the course of spring training. We saw some of the guys really succeed and kind of break out. Some of the younger guys, we got to see them in action. Today was a little bit of a dud as kind of that closing end, especially if you look at the final score, 8-1 to the Seattle Mariners. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, as you had mentioned, continue to give up some of these hits and get a little bit just get hit upon towards the later part. There's definitely some good signs, and he struck out a lot of hitters. Just a lot of the balls that were put in play were a little bit might have gotten unlucky, but they were definitely good hits, and there definitely are going to be some adjustments that Yamamoto is going to have to make. But overall, it's very good to have baseball back, and as we switch gears now into the mindset of the regular season as opposed to the spring training mindset, we are a week away from the regular season beginning for the Dodgers and the 2024 season starting. That is exciting to have be that close. I know there's a lot going on right now with the Dodgers, a lot going on with baseball, with Dylan Cease being traded to the San Diego Padres. So a lot to talk about, a lot to be excited here Wednesday night in the big town here on Dodgers Daily.
Cease was definitely having a good spring training too. Of course, I haven't seen any of his action, but just looking at some of his numbers, that's a situation where I'm sure Dodgers fans are going to be very, very jealous of. That's a guy that Dodgers fans have talked about quite a bit. It's one that Dodgers fans have wanted this front office to pursue, and it was a guy the Dodgers could have afforded. No doubt about that. So is that a guy that got away from the Dodgers, Austin?
I would say no, just because the Dodgers had basically their choice of who they wanted to get, and they ultimately decided in the trade avenue
it couldn't have been an and?
Possibly, but I think with the Dodgers, I think they were very content with the starting pitchers that they got during this offseason, going after a Tyler Glasnow, who I think has more upside, and especially because you have him for the 5-year deal, getting a Yamamoto as well, who you signed to a long-term 12-year deal. The prospects that the White Sox got in exchange for the Padres, I know it's not like the number 1 or number 2 guys. Those guys are extremely good, extremely talented pitchers that are coming up through the system in Drew Thorpe and Jairo Iriarte as well. So for that trade package that the Padres gave up in order to get Dylan Cease, I think it was a good trade for them. They're going to remain to be competitive. They had a really good positive run differential last year, so you wait to see if that turns around. For the Dodgers, though, I think they are content and happy with the situation they are in right now. I don't think you have to go out and add another trade piece to go and add another starting pitcher right now when you already might have other things that come up and be concerns for you with the trade pieces that you would have had to give up. You would have had to give up a couple of good, solid prospects in order to get a Dylan Cease if you're the Dodgers to add on top of that. And is that going to be the best issue that you can handle going forward? I don't believe so. So I don't think this changes anything as far as the National League West, as far as who's going to win it. I still very much project the Dodgers to win it, but this means that the Padres still are in it and they're still trying to be competitive. They have a couple of young position players that are going to be coming up and are projected right now to make the major league roster in Jackson Merrill and Graham Pauley, who had a chance to talk about a little bit on the show on Monday. So they're still going to be good. They're still going to be competitive. Dylan Cease, he was second in Cy Young 2 years ago. He can be that type of pitcher. I think the Dodgers chose wisely low and going after and getting a Tyler Glasnow in a trade as opposed to getting a Dylan Cease in a trade, because I like Tyler Glasnow a little bit more than Dylan Cease.
Would the Dodgers have had to give up too much to where they still couldn't do what they needed to do in their back pocket for the shortstop position?
It would have been
that expensive, would it?
It would have complicated things quite a bit more. You would have had to give up a couple of guys. Obviously, the Dodgers have a lot of prospects, and they can do what they want to and to make the trades that they necessarily have to. But you would have to give up two of the upper level guys, which limits some of the things, because you also have to, in these trade packages, trade guys that opposing teams would want. And in order to create a package that another team is going to want, you want to have a lot of different guys. So the opposing team has a lot of different options that they can choose for in a trade package. So then they are not limited to certain number of guys. So if you gave up a couple of guys in this Dylan Cease trade, if you're the Dodgers, perhaps those were the two guys that, with the team that you want to go get a shortstop with, those were the two guys that they would have wanted. And now they aren't as interested in some of the other guys because every single team has different evaluations on all of the different players. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. So good for the Padres. I know we don't say that too often, but they got a good starting pitcher. They got some young talent that is coming up. We'll have to see if it pays off for them this year.
I'm on your side of this. I just kind of wanted to play every single coin of it just to kind of see where the Dodgers could have went with this. Maybe is there anything they should have done? Did they leak anywhere here? I think you probably plugged all the holes that may have been there. Plus, it would have been a pretty costly package going back, and who's to say if you're actually gaining in that situation. So we'll see. I just don't like the fact that he did go to the Padres, although Michael is saying here that he might have to have Tommy John.
I have not heard as far as Dylan Cease needing that type of surgery yet. As far as I'm aware, he has been pitching. I think he's scheduled to pitch. It could be something that I'm completely wrong. I know there's stuff with Garrett Cole going on, and so there are some rumors about Dylan Cease potentially going to the Yankees. Now that isn't going to be the case. Perhaps they're going to have to sign a Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery to kind of fill that hole with Garrett Cole. I have not heard of that. If I would be certain that the Padres, I don't think they would make this deal if Dylan Cease was going to be out all of next season. Could be completely wrong, though, if there's some information that I'm missing.
Worried about Yamamoto? Is he tipping pitches? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, it was the first couple of innings of today's start were incredible, and you got to see some of the real dominance of Yamamoto, and he was starting to toy with a lot of these hitters, getting them to swing and miss. They didn't really know what to expect. During that second time through the order, though, they really started to swing early in the count, swing more of that first pitches, and they really started to put the ball in play and get good pitches to hit to where, man, you're a little bit concerned about that. I'm not going to overreact right now. I think he's still making an adjustment period, and I think a lot of this is going to correct itself. A 517 batting average and balls in play, granted it is a short sample size, is not sustainable. He's going to learn. He's going to adjust to a lot of these hitters. He's going to be able to figure this out. And I'm still seeing a lot of that swing and miss stuff. I think he's going to be able to make the appropriate adjustments, get used to the pitch clock that Major League Baseball has, get used to the Major League Baseball and a different style of the game. There always was going to be a learning curve with Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but we see some of the effective stuff. It's about him getting comfortable and him learning how to best go and attack these major league hitters. Once he's able to do that, that batting average and balls in play is going to drop dramatically, in which case a lot of those base hits are going to turn into outs. We saw that a little bit in the second start, where a lot of the hits were kind of weakly hit, or there might have been some poor defense or some just nicely hit baseballs. Today was a little bit more hard contact, or at times, or a little bit better place spots for some of the hits. With Yamamoto, I'm a little bit concerned, but I'm not sounding the alarm right now.
So I said it on the last show, and talk me off the cliff here and tell me I'm wrong. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, he obviously has very nasty stuff, right? His stuff is incredibly, it moves in an incredible amount. Okay, but what I said last time, and talk me away from this, okay? I want you to talk me off of this, Austin. What I said last time about him was, yeah, his stuff moves, kind of like Ryan Pepio's stuff had crazy movement when he came up. But if major league hitters can find the tunnel that's coming out of his hand and they can find the spin on the ball, right? and they can say, well, if it comes out of this tunnel with this spin, it's going to move 7,000 feet, and I'm not going to swing at it. And then the question becomes just exactly how good is his stuff that's in the strike zone. Does Yoshinobu Yamamoto require hitters to chase the strike zone for him to be successful? Can he stay in the zone all day long, throw strikes in the zone all day long, and still get major league outs at an ace level pitcher level? That's my question for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I haven't seen him enough. I can't tell you that. I'm asking you to talk me off this cliff.
Yeah, and I haven't seen Yoshinobu Yamamoto a ton as well. I've only seen his couple of starts that he's had in spring training. I think we saw a lot of that, him needing to make some of those strikes so then the batters can go ahead and chase during those later parts of the at-bat, which we saw hitters chase and look foolish out of the zone. I still think that he's able to make those adjustments. I still think that he's able to throw those strikes, throw some of those off-speed pitches in there and get hitters to swing and miss in the zone. I think during the course of his journey through his professional career, as he goes ahead and gets started, right now I think he's trying to get acclimated. I think he's trying to get adjusted to this level. This is part of the adjustments. This is part of the learning curve in baseball as he's working on making those pitches. He's working on getting used to fighting with each one of these big league hitters. So,
but is that why you get a Yoshinobu Yamamoto for 12 years is to wait for an adjustment period? I mean, you can do that with a prospect, right?
Yes, you can do that with a prospect, but I think there's also the aspect that the league that he came from in Japan is still an incredible league. And those hitters went through the exact same type of adjustments. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who is a prolific pitcher in Japan, also had to overcome probably a lot of these same hurdles to try to get the Japanese hitters out in the NPO. So I still think he's going to be able to make these adjustments. And I think the upside of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, which he has shown in the past, is incredibly high, worth it for the Dodgers to take this gamble and give him a 12-year contract, especially for the age that he is at. He's 25 years old. A lot of the Dodgers prospects are fighting and coming into the big leagues right now at 25 years old on the pitching
Rooney
side.
and Gambo are 2 years older, and they're playing in the breakout game, which is ridiculous to me. Whatever.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so with that, I still think Yoshinobu Yamamoto is still an incredible pitcher, and I don't think 3 spring training games changes anything for the Dodgers. I'm
just bringing up some possibilities, right? And we're just talking about every single side of it and just wanting to hear what your thoughts are. But I do think I'm bringing up some at least maybe legitimate concerns, right? I mean, not necessarily things that I'm not saying that guaranteed this is the case. I'm just saying, hey, kind of from the limited sample size that I've seen, is there any concern in this area? I'd be curious to get some of the fans' thoughts on. We already have a great lobby going tonight, and Michael says that he's definitely tipping pitches, and you could definitely tell when he's going to throw a splitter, which the thing about that splitter, we've seen that with Tony Gonsolin. I've seen it with Kendall Williams. We've seen these split changes. We saw it with Shelby Miller throughout his career, up and down. It's one of those things. I can tell you, I talked to Mark Washington about this, and this was just simply with a changeup, not even a splitter. And he said, man, as much as I've thrown this pitch in my career, it's a new adventure every day I show up with this pitch, right? I mean, it's like got a life of its own. Sometimes it has a life of its own every inning I take the mound. So with that splitter, the difference in the hardness of the mound, the difference in the grip of a ball, the difference in, is he comfortable, like you said, comfortable yet? Are his muscles relaxed enough to do what he needs to do to throw a splitter? All those things matter. So it's going to be interesting to see. And then also, that is a very, 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 very difficult pitch to land for a strike. Typically, that splitter, the split change, is a pitch that you don't throw for a strike, and it looks like a strike to a hitter, and you throw it when it's ahead in the count, and then it tumbles out of the zone, and you get swing and miss. I worry that major league hitters will find that spin on that splitter and just stop swinging at it like they did Gavin Stone with his changeup. I mean, that literally was the thing that got Gavin Stone in trouble last year, is that he wasn't locating his fastball, right? And so his but his changeup was irrelevant because he would get behind in the count, and then hitters would just spit on his changeup. And his changeup would tumble out of the zone. Now all of a sudden it's 3-0. Now he's serving up a 92-mile-an-hour cookie. That literally was the recipe for disaster for Gavin Stone last year. So if that splitter is a pitch that doesn't land in the zone, that's going to put a tremendous amount of pressure on all of his strike pitches to not only be strikes, but to be strikes with command to good parts of the zone, like we saw Gavin Stone last time out. That's been the biggest difference for him. You saw that 4-slot fastball I showed you in the hot take. You've seen the riding fastball. You've seen the two-seam turning right. All of those either have movement or great location to get ahead in the count. And then his changeup, he can fade it for a strike and then tumble it out of the zone. So that's what I want to see from Yoshinobu Yamamoto, is the command inside the strike zone with the strike pitches not getting hit.
Yeah,
that's what I really want to see from him.
Yeah, and I think we saw a little bit of that in today's game, where if you look at some of his just overall big picture numbers, he had 7 strikeouts, only had 1 walk. But as you mentioned, a lot of what the Mariners were doing early in the count when he was trying to get ahead, which Yoshinobu Yamamoto has a good long history of having great command to where he can throw a lot of strikes, doesn't give up a ton of walks. Mariners were just taking advantage of that and said, you know what? We're going to get down late and we're going to try to guess on that split finger. Might as well take advantage earlier in the count and put it in play. And they got some good swings off. So being able to pitch a little bit backwards, do different things to get ahead of hitters without them ambushing early in the count, I think is going to be important for Yamamoto as he goes forward and as he continues to adjust to Major League Baseball.
And don't get me wrong, again, I'm going to say this again. I think you guys know me well enough to know that I am all about the process. So I'm just bringing up, some conversation points as far as Yoshinobu Yamamoto goes. It's like Coach Holt says, we believe that spring training does matter, though. I mean, for some guys like J.D. Martinez, you can go back to my social media last year. I kept telling Dodgers fans he's always terrible in spring training. He was like 0 for 12. I said, don't even consider worrying about it. And then Kirsten Watson interviewed him. He's like, I always suck in spring training. I don't know why everybody's worried about this. As soon as the season starts, I'll be fine, guys. I'm just trying to get good swings. I'm trying to see the ball better. I don't even know what I'm not going to look at my batting average as a major league veteran in spring. So there are situations like that, but just an interesting conversation. We have a wonderful crowd logging in. Give Yoshi half a year to adjust, man. He will be fine. Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm not saying he won't. I'm not saying any of that. Dan Inspiration, no doubt about it. What I'm bringing up are, I think, hotspot points that I think as you watch when you talk about the process that we talk about all the time, Austin, when you're looking at Yoshinobu Yamamoto's process, I think the talking points I brought up right there today are the hotspot points to be looking for in the process of Yamamoto. Make sense?
Oh, yeah, no, totally. And I know this is something that the Dodgers are working with, that Yoshinobu Yamamoto is continuing to work with. They know every single area, and they're evaluating him critically to try to get the best version of Yoshinobu Yamamoto out. And the best, I believe, is yet to come with him. He's just getting started.
Yeah, no doubt. Nobody is even remotely trying to suggest that we're worried about Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That's not this conversation whatsoever. Hepatitis C later. Thank you so much for joining this evening. I love it when Hep C joins Cease. A lot of red flags, diminished stuff, and he struggled in the weak AL Central. So that is telling. Yeah, that is Dylan Cease that we're talking about, and he went to the Padres today. Nando 390. Thank you so much for joining tonight. If Glass now gets hurt and Yamamoto struggles, then the Dodgers are in trouble. Trade for Luzardo. Yeah, lots of ifs and ands. Let's hope that Tyler Glass now stays healthy. Let's hope that Yoshinobu Yamamoto hits all of his his innings limits that he's always hit as far as pitching a lot of innings, and none of that happens. But yeah, if that does happen, then I think you have Kyle Hurt. You're going to have Walker Buehler back at some point. I think you're going to have Clayton Kershaw back later in the season. Dustin May's going to make his way back. So it would depend on how soon that happened. I mean, let's say if it's like June or July, I think the Dodgers would probably ride that out. If it happened tomorrow, I think they probably would think about trying to fix it.
Yeah, no, it is not a need right now. Obviously, that always is a concern, no matter who is on your pitching staff, because of the velocity and just the history that we've seen recently with pitchers getting injured. It is always a concern. And if that comes up, if that unfortunately becomes an issue for the Dodgers will address it. Trust this front office. They will go after and address this as best as they possibly can, especially since they're all in this season. I think the fixes that they make this season at the trade deadline are going to be better than what we've seen, especially last season during the trade deadline, where it felt underwhelming. It won't feel underwhelming because they have too much at stake this season.
Although you could have went out and spent however much you wanted to on a reliever last year, and they would not have been better than Ryan Brazier, right?
Yeah. Oh, I know that. And that's exactly right. So no matter what they're trying to address, whether that's the starting pitcher, if that becomes a need, or if that becomes a good, solid closer, relief pitcher that you can feel good about in the ninth inning, they'll address that area of need when it comes down to it. But right now, it's not an area of concern because Tyler Glasnow is pitching really well right now. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is still making those adjustments, but I have no doubt that he will find those adjustments and be able to be a good, solid pitcher. And then you still have Bobby Miller. You have a James Paxton. You also have a Gavin Stone who's starting to really turn things around, as well as all of the other depth that you have.
Michael Grove's throwing well.
Michael Grove's pitching really well, and it sounds like he's making the trip over to Korea, which is really exciting for him. You have all of these other guys really close to major league ready that you can call up to fill in patches if needed. But if it comes down to that case, I've talked about it quite a bit. I think Jesus Luzardo is an incredible pitcher and would make a great Dodger.
And a guy who has enough team control to where if you reevaluated next year and you thought you had enough pitching and you didn't need him the year after that, boy, you could really return him for a whole bunch of prospects. Right? Not saying that you would do that, but whoever it is that would be the odd man out at that point, you would get some prospects back, whoever that would be.
Yeah, it would be a good investment to get
it's
a
an
starting
investment. Good
pitcher.
way to put it. Yeah.
Yes, to get a pitcher that has years of team control, especially if you're going to have a surplus of pitching. That's the point that you're trying to make.
Hey, Michael says, Michael Correa, thank you so much for joining. Michael, I love when Michael joins. He always has we have just such unique differences, like the different people that post on here. They just have all sorts of different, unique, incredible baseball, nuanced just comments and viewpoints. It's just so much fun reading all these different viewpoints, and they're always so level-headed, whichever side they're on, whether it's agree or disagree. It's always so much fun. Michael is always just wonderful comments here in the chat here. He raises his glove when he throws a splitter. Have you seen that yet, Austin?
I have not, although I haven't done an exact breakdown of Yamamoto and each one of the different pitches. If that is something, that could be something that hitters could pick up and be something that they make. So I know the Dodgers are evaluating every single pitch that Yamamoto is throwing, and they know or can find out some of the tendencies that he has, just like they do it for opposing pitchers as well. They want to try to find all of the different things that can just help them get better and better at picking up pitches. I'm sure they're evaluating Yamamoto right now. And if that is the case, that will be fixed and that will be adjusted.
It's called self-scouting. They do it all the time. And other teams scout you. So this is a great point by Trey B. If he's a guy that throws stuff that's a lot straighter or more hittable to get ahead in the count, they're going to try to ambush him. That's exactly what they did to Gavin Stone last year. They said, hey, if Gavin Stone throws something straight, because he wasn't throwing his two-seam, he didn't have a cutter, so his four-seam was straight. If he throws something straight that's in the zone, you see it come out of the tunnel, and that tunnel tells you it's going to stay straight and in the zone because it's going to stay straight, right? Then ambush it. If not, don't swing. It became literally that simple for major league hitters. And so that's a great point, Trey B, that hey, if you have a tendency where you throw a lot more hittable type pitches early in the game, early in the count, I should say, then major league hitters are going to know your tendencies, and they're going to try to ambush you earlier on and try to get after it from there. So, again, great comment there, Trey B. Hep C says Yamamoto keeping the ball in the yard, still getting strikeouts. I'm not worried. He's still adjusting and still getting Ks in a new environment. Yep, that's a very, very balanced, well level-headed take, I think, on Yamamoto.
Yeah, and that goes to he's not giving up a ton of home runs, and even the base hits that he had, the batting average ball to play is way out of line with what it should be.
Yeah.
It should be closer to 300 as opposed to over 500. So that will correct itself as Yamamoto gets more comfortable at this level and against major league hitters.
They're working Austin Barnes with Yamamoto too. We have some couple comments here in the lobby saying they wish that he would start working with Will Smith. Nando 390 of Glass Nuggets. Yeah, we've already read that comment. Hey, Chris Fabelberg. Screw Cease and the Padres. At best, they're a third-place team. Yeah. Okay, hepatitis C you later. A guy like Cease should have had at least a 3.2 ERA in the American League Central. Like, come on, look at those teams in that division. That's something you're familiar with.
Yeah, the American League Central is probably the weakest division in Major League Baseball. In fact, it is the weakest division in Major League Baseball. The offenses in that league aren't great, and last year Dylan Cease really struggled quite a bit. And I'm sure I know the White Sox last season had high expectations, and they just fell down to earth to be a last place team last year. So I'm sure psychologically, maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe some of the effectiveness on a lot of his pitches from 2022 to 2023 weren't great. The only ththing that I would state is don't completely underestimate the pitcher that is Dylan Cease. I think it's easy to say, oh, you had a bad year last season, and perhaps that's more of the type of pitcher that Dylan Cease is as opposed to the 2022 version of Dylan Cease. Don't get cocky and put in the work and continue to respect some of your opponents, but go out there with an attitude that you're going to beat them. And I think if they keep that attitude, I think the Dodgers would do really well.
Hey, Sean, good evening. Thank you so much for joining. It's always great when Sean can join Dodgers Dawgs. Cease would have cost us a package like Sheehan, DePaula, Knack, and Vesia. Wow, that would have been costly.
Yeah, that would have been.
That is not something the Dodgers
costly.
Would even start entertaining, by the way.
No, absolutely not. And the pitchers that the White Sox got in return, Iriarte and the other pitcher, Drew Thorpe, that came over, and the Soto deal as well. They're two really solid pitchers, and they're going to add to the pitching core of Nick Nastrini that the White Sox have, as well as Jordan Leisure, who it sounds like very well has a good opportunity to make the White Sox opening day bullpen. He's pitching really well, so they're going to add to that. They're going to add to that core, but with the package that the Dodgers would have had to give up, it would have taken a good solid chunk out of the depth, especially because teams probably don't want to trade to the juggernaut that is the Dodgers and help make them even more difficult to beat long term or in the World Series. So I think there is a Dodgers tax, and that would have been implemented on the Dodgers and any type of trade like this. Oh yeah, absolutely. And but the package that the White Sox got, two solid pitchers. Maybe they could have gotten a little bit more. Two really good pieces, though.
All right. So, hey, having a great conversation about Dodgers baseball. Again, kind of a dud today. Kind of a lull in the season, but there still is a lot of Dodgers talk about. So, yeah, for a guy with 2 years of team control, though, the Dodgers, if you're going to have to give up a package like Sean's saying there, that's not, especially when you talk about 4 prospects like that for a Boris guy like Hep C saying that isn't necessarily a superstar, that would certainly be crazy. And only having 2 years of control, as Hep C saying. And Dan Inspiration is saying that the Padres are desperate. Nando 390 says Dodgers keep their prospects until they're the age of 30. I could go on and on and on about that, right?
Yeah, no, that seems to be a little bit more of a trend with the Dodgers. And we want to see these guys get their opportunities, not waste their careers in the minor leagues. So good that some of them are getting opportunities elsewhere, and the Dodgers have improved their major league club. I'd love to see that continue to be a trend, especially during this season as we get a little bit closer into the season, as the Dodgers have a little bit of a better idea of what the future is going to be. to make the necessary deals to make this team as airtight as possible and provide opportunities to some of these other guys like they did to a Michael Busch, who is hitting really well this spring training for the Chicago Cubs, like they've done.
I haven't checked in. He's doing well, Michael is?
Oh, yeah. No, he has 2 home runs. He has like a 147 WRC plus, projected to make the Cubs opening day roster according to Fangraphs. So, yeah, no, he's doing really well so far.
Good. We wish all of those guys, Jordan Leisure, Nick Nastrini, 2 of my favorites. 2 guys that, by the way, I communicate still with quite a bit, and it's just because I just really like those guys. I mean, there's some guys that you just really – you root for them all right, but there's other guys that you just kind of – there's a little extra there. You're like, man, I really, really hope this guy makes it, and those are 2 of them. Jordan Leisure, Nick Nastrini, they are 2 badass dudes, man. I mean, they are just super quality people. So I'm super excited about the opportunities they're going to get. And it's like Trey says, the Dodgers can't help that the prospects are blocked because the Major League roster is stacked. They could trade them, though. That would be the thing that I would say is that if you hold on to that, we've said this a million times, we won't go off on this, I promise. But if you hold them until they're 26, 27, 28 years old and still haven't given them substantial Major League experience, you're actually cutting your nose off to spite your face, because what you're doing is you've aged out the value of your prospect. Now you can't get the return of that prospect that you should have when they were 24 years old, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that is absolutely correct. So I think the Dodgers are going to have opportunities to evaluate this team. And then for some of those a little bit older type of prospects, I think they're having an opportunity to trade some of those guys to give them new opportunities in order to help fortify this club. Because as mentioned, this is a good problem for the Dodgers organization to have, because that means that they have so much talent in this system. Yeah. They have too much talent at the major league club that you're trying to figure out what to do with these guys at the minor league level. And a lot of these guys at the minor league level are going to other organizations and having success, which is just further showing how good this Dodgers system actually is.
Josue got a hit today.
Yeah, he did. He got a hit. He got that diving catch, which I know was scary at first, because then you're thinking, oh man, did Josue de Paula hurt himself on that diving catch? It turns out he was just fine, and then ended up next inning getting that base hit to the opposite way. That is really cool to see from Josue de Paula. There's a ton of excitement with him. He's going to spend some time maybe in Rancho, probably a lot in Great Lakes this upcoming season to help the Loons reach and actually achieve a Midwest League championship in the year 2024. I think he's going to have a big part of that, but he's 18, 19 years old, still young, one of the most exciting prospects in this Dodgers system, has great plate discipline, all the different tools that you're looking for. Josue de Paula has a lot of those tools. And yeah, no, we got to see that on display, especially since we don't get a ton of Rancho games. It's good to see Josue de Paula in action while we can.
It absolutely is. He is definitely a buzzword name for the Dodgers, especially since I think probably Keith Law, the Athletic, probably got the Dodgers fans the most excited about Josue de Paula. So, yeah, very highly ranked young man, a young man that has a lot of swag to him, a guy that I compare just body type-wise, his swing-wise, his swag-wise. It's just Bernie Williams all over again to me. So, hey, having a great conversation tonight about Dodgers baseball. Denard says the San Diego Padres overpaid for Dylan Cease. Would you agree with that, Austin?
That's a tough evaluation to make with that. It's always tough, especially when you're right in the moment, trying to see, okay, project what's going to happen in these type of trades. I think it could be something where both of the pitchers that the White Sox got turn out to be really good, solid pitchers. Both of them are in the upper levels of the minor leagues. Drew Thorpe was one of the key pieces that came over in the Juan Soto trade. They decided to flip him for Dylan Cease, and then Jairo Iriarte pitched really well last season. A lot for the Tin Caps. I got to see him, maybe once or twice last year against the Loons. I believe so. If not, I've just seen his name pop up a lot when I've been looking at a lot of the statistics around the league. Both of them are really solid pieces. Pitching is very difficult to project going forward, though. So it's kind of a wait and see what happens. Dylan Cease coming off a little bit of a down year. So maybe they got the pieces that they possibly could with it being a little bit of a ticking clock with him only having 2 years of control. I don't know whether it's an overpay or an underpay, which I know You want kind of those definitive statements here on Dodgers Daily, but sometimes it's okay to say, well, go ahead and reevaluate and wait and see what happens. Just like when we look back, I know there was a comment earlier about the Lance Lynn and the Joe Kelly trade from last season for Jordan Leisure and Nick Nastrini. It's looking a little bit more like the White Sox got two really good pieces, but we're still have to wait and see.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
They absolutely did. 100%. Hey, love Joe Kelly. Won't comment on the other situation, but yeah, I'll just say that the White Sox did really good in getting Nick Nastrini. And Jordan Leisure is one of those guys, again, that not on prospects list, but yet he has 7-foot extension. He's throwing close to 100 miles an hour. He immediately goes to the White Sox, and they're like, holy crap, look at this guy, right? I mean, this guy's like, they graded his fastball at an 80 grade like the second day he was there. And it's like, yeah, I know. I mean, but it's one of those situations to where the White Sox were very, very, very happy with what they got in return. So good for them. And we root very much so for Nick and Jordan, two Dodgers daily favorites, no doubt about that. Hey, Michael says you need to throw the splitter every so often for a strike. No doubt about that. 100%. You need to throw. I mean, you need all your tumble pitches that are meant for swing and miss. You know what guys do. What guys do with their changeup, what we saw with Gavin Stone the other day, is that they see, like Ryan Pepio had fade that first year he came up when he was struggling, he was throwing 7,000 pitches to get 3 outs, right? Even though his ERA looked good, what's happening to him with his changeup, he had fade, which is right turn, and he also had tumble, which is straight down, right? So he was getting both movements on the pitch, which whenever you're looking at TrackMan, you're like, hot damn, man, look at that pitch, right? I mean, woohoo, let's go. And then you're like 8 pitches in, and Major League hitters are like, hey, yeah, it looks great. It breaks a lot, but it's ball 3. Right? So now what are you going to do? So he's like, oh, my God, nobody's swinging at this pitch. So what the Dodgers have done, the pivot to that, these guys that work for the Dodgers are just brilliant, man. I mean, it takes them not very long to make an adjustment, right? So instead of having a pitch that has both fade and tumble, they've given Gavin Stone a fade change for strike. That's more of a right turn, right? And then also a tumble change that is meant for swing and miss. Instead of putting them both in the same pitch, they've split them into 2. One's more of a strike profile pitch. The other's more of a strike out profile pitch. And it has been bonanza for both Ryan Pepio and Gavin Stone. I would be curious to see if you can actually, I know splitters profile the same as changeups because they tumble. I'm not familiar enough with split changes to know if you can actually change your grip enough to get fade instead of tumble on it. That would be my concern with a splitter instead of a changeup. I don't have enough experience with it. I don't know. My guess would be no, though.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure as far as what the Dodgers could do. The Dodgers have hired and have people that are way smarter than I am going after evaluating this process. So I have no doubt that they'll do that. And I also will point to Yoshinobu Yamamoto, his history of being able to throw strikes in the past in Japan, in their
But did he throw
league.
strikes, or did guys swing at pitches that were out of the zone that became strikes? That's the question.
I'm sure with the amount of strikes and the limitation of a lot of the walks that he had, it was a combination of both. I don't have those exact numbers. I think that's a little bit more difficult, at least for me, to be able to find. But I have confidence with the numbers that he was putting up that he was doing both.
No doubt. I would totally agree. I'm just talking about, about talking points, hot points to look for in the process. So as you're watching Yamamoto, it gives you something to look at to say, hey, there's what he's doing. This pitch is landing in the zone, that one's not, and just kind of what he is and what makes him successful. So, hey, Norm Lee, I love it when Norm joins. Norm always just leaves just tremendous comments. My concern with Yamamoto is no one knows whether he's a guy who can flip a switch. When the regular season begins, it may not be DEFCON 1, but if this continues in South Korea, brows will be raised.
A little bit, perhaps, because you're seeing it a little bit more as you see the sample size grow more and more. But again, we've still seen only 3 different outings for Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Hold on, before you go on.
Yeah.
But if he struggles twice in the spring training and then goes into a real game and just dominates, right, and just kicks ass, then you just point blank say, well, he didn't. I mean, spring training he flipped a switch and he didn't. I mean, he cared, but he was working on this, tinkering with that. But once the regular season, look at what he did when it mattered. You can definitely declaratively say that if that happens in South Korea, right? If he doesn't do that, then you might be able to say, well, okay, then some of the things that were happening in spring training actually were real, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe you could start that process. Maybe.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a wait and see what happens with Yamamoto and see how he continues to adjust. And as we get more and more of a sample size and see more and more outings for Yamamoto, we'll start to get a little bit of a clearer picture. But with this small of a sample size, it's hard to get too clear of a picture. You have a small little piece of it, but it's blurry and you don't know exactly what to evaluate unless you get more and more of an idea of who he is. And that's only going to come from more outings that he has.
Here's where I'm at with him. I know he has pitches that move like no other pitcher can make a ball move on earth. And then also, I know the Dodgers scouts. I know the Dodgers pitching instructors. They signed off on him. That's good enough for me, right? That's plenty good enough for me. That's where I'm at with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Because
and they didn't just sign off on him.
Man,
they gave him the big money and signed off on him, which means they have very much a ton of confidence in Yamamoto and the pitcher that he is going to be for the Dodgers. So, I have full trust in this staff. I have full trust in Yamamoto because the staff trusts Yamamoto.
The people that signed off on him are the best pitching instructors in the world, the most educated, the smartest, the best scouts, the best. The Dodgers have the best of all of that. So that obviously brings a lot of comfort. Denard, I love it when Denard joins. Is it possible Yamamoto is still adjusting to Major League Baseball? Yeah, no doubt about it. Hep C says Yamamoto going to be fine. Senga had to adjust. All these players from Japan had to as well. Plus, it's a whole new culture. It's different food. I mean, it's different languages. It's not as comfortable. It's a whole. I mean, it is a whole new deal. No doubt about that. Hey, Dan, Inspiration, give Yoshi half a year to adjust, man. He'll be fine, no doubt. Roy Estrada says I am not concerned about Yamamoto at this point. He will be okay, not worried. And Michael Carrillo says he's had bad numbers so far when Barnes caught him. Yeah, and Barnes is the one, I'm sure, calling all the sequences. And again, that's an adjustment period. What sequences do you want to throw here? You don't know the guy like the back of the hand. Like a catcher, like let's say that Clayton Kershaw and Austin Barnes. Austin Barnes already knows what Clayton Kershaw is thinking about 3 pitches down the line. They're in sync that much. When you're working with a new guy like that, you're kind of going pitch to pitch more. You're more on the generic sequences. So I could definitely see what I believe it was Michael that left that comment is saying about.
I believe wasn't Will Smith scratched from the lineup today to make room for an Austin Barnes just to deal with some type of, I don't remember exactly what he was dealing with, but I think there likely was a late change that was made from Will Smith to an Austin Barnes. So I don't know what to read into that a whole lot, but definitely something to keep an eye on as Yamamoto continues to pitch with the Dodgers. Who is his catcher and how he adjusts to each one, Will Smith and Austin Barnes.
Hepatitis C later says Kershaw even had his bad spring training starts. Spring training is the time to tinker. If you're a veteran and if you have a guaranteed contract and if you know you're going to be on the 26-man roster, even if you suck for 3 months, definitely spring training is the time to tinker. If you're John Rooney and you're Alec Gamboa, James Outman from last year, Andy Pages of this year, spring training's the time to kick ass and show what you got, right?
Yeah, no, spring training for those guys that are fighting for a spot is a time to be perfect. And for a lot of the other guys, this is time to make those adjustments or at least be as good as you can and showcase a lot of that skill and remind the organization who you are, which a lot of these guys in the Dodgers system have reminded the organization who they are, which I'm sure the organization has not forgotten about them.
Have you noticed how level-headed our crowd is, man? I mean, do we not have an elite crowd going on here? Just elite comments? It's amazing.
They're pretty okay.
It's amazing. Okay. I mean, this crowd
amazing.
Right here is an amazing baseball crowd. And I can tell you, I wouldn't go on live and have these conversations if they weren't enjoyable for me to talk about. And I can't tell you guys how much I enjoy talking to you because you guys are just awesome. I mean, totally awesome.
Oh, yeah. No, it's why we go live so often. And we go live now 4 different days a week, 3-4 days a week. It's because we thoroughly enjoy interacting with you guys. You guys are absolutely the best. And it's good, solid, deep baseball conversations that's challenging, that is level-headed, that wants the organization to be better, balanced, all of these different words. And it's knowledgeable about this team, about this club, and about different ways to try to make this club better. And that just makes it more fun, these types of conversations, instead of the whole yelling or the
same opinion over and over and over, just all the talking points and everything. Screw that, man.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think.
No, we like to have these deep conversations with a whole variety of different aspects, which is why Casey brings up aspects that maybe I hadn't thought about before. I try to bring a little bit more of the analytical side to try to bring a little bit of a different perspective.
Yeah, you're a nerd.
A little bit of a nerd. A little bit of the nerd. But that's how I get my money, is because I'm a nerd, because I'm a statistician here. So that really worked out for me quite well.
I love you, Austin. You know that.
Oh, absolutely. So we try to bring a whole bunch of variety of different aspects to this, and you guys certainly help and make this worth doing and so much fun.
Well, I'm so crusty that I need you desperately to be exactly what you are. It definitely balances out my crustiness. So that is simply fantastic. By the way, we only have 17 likes. Damn it. I've been sitting here bragging on you guys and ladies out there, talking about how great you are. Go leave a like, right? Go tell all your friends about Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. And if you haven't turned on your notifications, make sure and do that and become a subscriber.
And how many subscribers are we to 3,000 subscribers?
Because
I know we are very close to reaching that mark.
I don't want to spend too much time on the air advertising, but we have 2.99. 2.99.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, we are getting very close. So Jay says Yoshinobu Yamamoto's command is supposed to be elite, likely to be able to compete in zone. That'd be the question. My question is, does it show elite? Does he have elite command or control? Meaning, does he throw a lot of strikes and it looks like he throws a lot of strikes because hitters chase the zone? Or is his command in the zone actually elite like that, to where he gets the ball where he wants it, he moves it to where he wants it, he hits the location he wants, and he's able to get a lot of swing and miss in the zone? Like I said, I just think that's something that's going to be an interesting thing to watch as we move forward. Charlie Stokes, hey, Casey and Austin, are you both ready for a very awesome season? Absolutely. Heck yeah, we are. By the way, Charlie, Austin, absolutely I'm ready for an awesome season. And guess what happened today, Austin? First time it ever happened.
What happened today?
I got an email from Alex Friedman. Oh, man, Alex Freeland messes me up. Alex Friedman, the AAA play-by-play voice for the Oklahoma City whatever.
Baseball club?
I'm not saying that. Forget it.
Oh, I'm saying the Oklahoma City Baseball Club.
You are not allowed to say Oklahoma City Baseball Club on this show, okay? All right. And by the way, in the past, I'd always had to put in a request for a credential for whatever game I was going to. Mm-hmm. I got a season-long media pass, carte blanche. I'm going to go get it. It's good for every single game. I can go and come and please as I want. How about that?
That is incredible.
Isn't that incredible? I'm going to brag, and I don't care if it sounds douchey or not, but I'm going to brag on that because that's badass, and I am super excited about that. That's a badass deal.
And that's because of the hundreds and hundreds of hours of work that you put into this, and it's paying off, and you're having an opportunity to go there a whole bunch. That's really exciting. Yeah. No.
Okay. I'm going to quit being douchey, and I'm going to quit bragging on myself, and I'm going to get back to our wonderful crowd, right? Okay. Yeah. Roy Estrada is Yoshinobu Yamamoto is tipping the issue. That'll be a question. Also, I didn't finish Charlie Stokes' comment. Do you both think a sweep in South Korea? I'll be honest with you. I mean, maybe they flip a switch, but you're dealing with serious defensive issues on your infield. You're dealing with one of your starters giving up lots and lots of runs at this point. So there are some concerns heading to Korea. Am I making too much out of that?
You are not making too much out of it. I think there are definitely concerns that this Dodgers team has. They are not the perfect club right now. The infield defense is a concern.
But those are big, glaring. I mean, you're talking about your infield. That's a glaring concern. When you're talking about your number 2 starter, if that's well, I'm not saying it is, but those are not small issues.
Yeah, no, they are not small issues, not at all. And this is something that the Dodgers are going to work through. And this is something that is going to come back and bite them at certain points in the season if it is not addressed, if it is not taken care of. I still have confidence that they're going to be successful. And it's hard to predict in a short series in Korea as they go over there. I think it's going to be a good play. I think it's going to be good for the Dodgers, and I think they're going to be successful in Korea.
I think also that Miguel Rojas kind of let the cat out of the bag. Hey, every game matters. Let me flip this, Austin, until I get your there. No, not yet. Right there. Okay, now you are finally good to go. I actually got your Great Lakes, that beautiful Great Lakes hat there. I got it actually the right direction this time. So if you remind me before we go on, I can actually get all that stuff correct, and we can actually make that look right. Hey, Michael Carrillo says, I think the strategy for Yamamoto is to waste a pitch or two and at bat in order to keep hitters off balance. Yes, which when you do that, that puts a whole, like with Gavin Stone, that puts an incredible amount of stress on the pitches that you're supposed to land for strikes. Because if your plan is to waste a couple of pitches and then your pitches that are supposed to be strikes aren't perfect, then, man, if the hitter knows you're going to waste a couple pitches and that's a strategy, then they are going to ambush all the other pitches. And if those, not just strikes, if they're not commanded with the proper movement and proper location, that's where you really start getting hurt. So it's a very interesting conversation to have. I am so excited to watch it. And obviously Yamamoto is an elite pitcher. The Dodgers, they signed him for 12 years. For a reason. Hey, and here's another comment from Norm Lee. Another thing to look out here that he's noticed from Norm. Yamamoto has horizontal movement, meaning side to side. I call that east and west, right? But not much vertical movement, not much north and south. So if you ever hear me say east and west, I'm talking about horizontal movement. If you hear me say north and south, obviously north and south, obviously I'm talking about vertical movement. That's what Norm Lee's talking about here. So he doesn't have a whole lot of vertical movement, especially in his fastball. He also doesn't throw high fastballs, so he doesn't carry or ride the top of that zone to get that riding effect, which plays off of that, which then his tumbling splitter would play off of that. He's saying batters have a clear knee to thigh high zone, and their eye level doesn't change much. Roy Estrada says we will be good. Madre's getting Cease over the Spankies is great. So what do you think about the comments from Norm Lee?
Yeah, I'd be interested, especially as we get it closer and as we get started with the regular season. I want to look a little bit more deeper into Yamamoto and especially some of the StatCast data and look at some of the actual pitch shapes that he has that we haven't had a chance to look at. And so I can't really give too much of an answer as far as the different type, how he's attacking hitters, how his pitches shape or play off of each other, and what the different movements are on a lot of those different pitches. Be interesting to see, get some of that data and see what it actually looks like, because I'm sure the Dodgers are looking at it, and I'm sure there's an approach that they're trying to take with Yamamoto that's going to maximize the efficiency of some of his pitches. And that comes through experience, that comes through learning, that comes with adjustments and getting comfortable at the level that he has. All of that comes down to that. So I don't have any data to go off of that, but I could definitely see some of those aspects playing off of each other.
Are we spending way too much time on Yamamoto tonight? Yeah. There ain't nothing else to talk about really right now, right? Unless we wanted to talk about the infield defense, of which the Dodgers don't have a solution to right now. I think Mookie Betts, it's not a bad solution. I don't think necessarily it's a permanent solution, and not necessarily because Betts can't do it. I know Sean loves Mookie Betts at shortstop, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with Sean on that, but I just think for the longevity of Mookie Betts, I'm not sure it's great for his body. And also, so you say, okay, here's the problem the Dodgers have, okay? If you play Mookie Betts at shortstop, is he going to play over 100 games at shortstop?
If you play him at shortstop,
is he going to be your shortstop for more than 100 games this year?
It would be close to it. I don't think it would be exactly 100 games, no.
So I've heard people say, well, just turn the position over to Rojas. Well, here's your problem with turning over to Rojas. I guarantee you Miguel Rojas isn't going to play over 100 games at shortstop, right? Mm-hmm. So you're committing to a starting shortstop that's going to leave you almost half your games you still have to fill, right?
Yeah.
So, what the Dodgers need and want is a shortstop that's going to go out there every day and not leave them without a shortstop 60 times, 62 times, 70 times.
And that makes a lot of sense, which if that was the case, worst case scenario, the Dodgers do have answers that they can help fill and make sure that Mookie Betts gets the proper rest or gets some time at second base with a Chris Taylor or with Miggy Rojas or with a Kike Hernandez. They could all fill in at shortstop. I don't think this is a permanent. I don't think this is a long-term solution for Mookie Betts because I want Mookie Betts to be as healthy as he can, and I want him to be healthy going into the postseason. I think last season, moving around, kind of caught up to him later in the season in September and into October, where his performance after that great August where he was fighting back into that MVP race started to take a little bit of a dive. So I want what is best for Mookie Betts, and I think that ultimately is what is going to be the best for the Dodgers. So they will figure something out what is best for the Dodgers going forward, and I think they'll try to figure out a way to get Mookie Betts some time to where he isn't always at shortstop, but for right now, that seems to be the answer they are going with.
I think Mookie Betts is less sold at being a shortstop than he is a second baseman, only for one reason. I really think that he felt like he could have been the best second baseman in the history of baseball, right? I mean, but then he feels like, I go to shortstop and I'm just kind of a league average player. And when you think like a Mookie Betts type of guy, you're used to being a Gold Glove, an elite baseball player. The thought of going and playing a position that you're just going to be kind of an average player at.
And you're talking defensively, right?
Correct. Yes. Well, I mean, but I'm telling you, man, shortstop's taxing. It can affect your offense. 100% it can affect your offense, right? I think if he is not as sold on shortstop, it would be from the perspective of, I could be a world-class second baseman, maybe a little bit above average shortstop. So I would rather be the world-class second baseman. If that's the case. Am I making any sense there?
I still think Mookie Betts, even if he goes over to shortstop, is one of, if not the top shortstops in the game of baseball.
Just he's because never played it for a whole lot, though, right?
I'm not talking defensively. Okay. Defensively, I think he's going to be around league average, if not slightly below league average defensively. Yeah. Offensively, though, his talent is well over the top to make him an elite player.
But you're going to get that and elite defense if he's in right field or second base.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's some of the reason why he would want to stay over at second base. But I think still, even moving Mookie Betts over to shortstop, he's still going to be an elite type of player. That's all my point is.
Yeah, that's a good conversation, isn't it? Hey, we have a wonderful conversation going on. Dan Inspiration says with the money they gave Yamamoto, they could have gotten Montgomery and Snell, LOL. Roy Estrada. Roy, I'll tell you what, man, not very many people on Earth, Austin, know more about baseball than Roy Estrada. I can tell you that. I've been reading his comments for a minute now, and they are great. 100% convinced that Yamamoto will figure it out, look at film, make adjustments, and let's go. Michael Carrillo, he has great control, but that can work against him. Good point, Michael. He needs to waste some pitches and at bats so they don't sit on him. That is 100% correct. Nando 390, Yankees now in panic mode meeting. Yeah, Roy Estrada, I think Yamamoto is still shell-shocked from having Lux and Muncy behind him. That is, you can tell major leaguers, they're not used to that. That is something that definitely would affect you from a mental perspective. Hey, Denard 2010 says, is it a safe bet to say that River Ryan is a better hitter than Austin Barnes? That's funny. I'm glad you said that, Denard, because tomorrow's high velo, guess who it's going to be on, Austin?
Austin Barnes.
Wrong. River Ryan. Look forward to that to come out tomorrow. A lot of great stuff on River Ryan. I have him actually talking in the feature, kind of giving you a breakdown of the type of pitcher he is, what type of major league ready things that he thinks he's ready to do. his situation as far as becoming a pitcher only, having a brother that's at AAA baseball. He talks about all that. I put that in the feature. Also, we have all of his numbers. I have you, Austin, obviously you went over a lot of his numbers and some of the things he's done as far as from a strikeout rate, his pitch mix, the way his sequencing. We have all of that in the high velo tomorrow. Jay, thank you so much for putting that together and helping do all of that. I can't thank you so much for all of that coordination. So look forward to that high velo coming out tomorrow on River Ryan. Super excited about that. Correct. Yeah, Michael Hoffer says, did you hear about Johnny DeLuca? Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Dude broke his hand. This guy can't catch a break. Every time he's ready to make the major leagues, he hurts something.
Yeah, no, that was definitely disappointing. If you haven't heard, Johnny DeLuca did break, I believe it was his wrist, something in his hand for the Tampa Bay Rays. So he'll be out a month or two. So we wish him the best of luck. I have no doubt that he will come back on a tear and will make an impact for the Tampa Bay Rays. I think there's too much talent that he has. His power is elite. His speed is there running track. His defense is really solid. He's got good plate discipline as well. All the tools are there, and there's a reason why the Tampa Bay Rays identified and wanted Johnny DeLuca. It's just a little bit of a setback, and it sucks to see him go through and have to jump over another hurdle. But I have no doubt he will jump over this hurdle, and he will go and have a successful career for the Tampa Bay Rays. We wish Johnny nothing but the best.
There's also a reason why I wish he was still a starting outfielder for the Dodgers. But that's just me. That's just the page that I am on there. I love that guy. He's another one of the Dodgers daily favorites, man. That dude is super, super quality. Hey, Matty Man 5 Dodge. I love it with Matty Man 5. Joins the Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Matty Man always has that edge to him. I love reading Matty Man's comments. Well, for $1 billion, you expect a bit better than a 9 ERA. And Matty Man says, the more I watch this team, the more winning 100 games will be a successful season. Don't have to win 100 games. You don't have to win the division. Just have to make the playoffs, right?
You have to make the playoffs, and with this team, their goal isn't just to make the playoffs. They made the playoffs the past couple of seasons, and it was not to the success that the Dodgers would have wanted. So they're going to make the adjustments. They're going to be a good, solid, competitive team and do whatever they can to put themselves in the best position to win in the postseason, which is what is important to the Dodgers and what should be important to all major league clubs.
Hey, check this out, Austin. Akira LAD. I'm assuming that stands for Los Angeles Dodgers. Hello, Dodgers fans. I'm watching from Japan. How about that, huh? How cool is that?
That's awesome. That's incredible.
Akira, welcome. Hey, every Sunday, I always want to say Monday, Wednesday. It's every Sunday, and then Austin goes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, maybe Saturday mornings. We haven't quite figured out exactly how that's going to work. Thank you so much for joining all the way from Japan, and good evening or good morning or good afternoon, whatever time it is in Japan. I actually don't know. I would imagine that it's earlier in the day, so it's probably like morning in Japan, but don't quote me on that. But thank you so much for joining, Akira, and we hope that you keep coming back. Awesome deal there. Norm Lee says, as far as Cease, I would think Yankees fans would be more upset than anyone else. The team would not give up Spencer Jones, even when Cole possibly being out for months. Chris Fallborg says, if it happens in spring training, it didn't happen, especially for your established veterans when they're tinkering with this or trying to get comfortable there. Hey, here's a great point from Denard. I've said this a bunch. Will Smith, under the radar, flying under the radar. This dude has elite plate discipline. He's going to get lots of great pitches to hit because he has so much protection. Man, if Will Smith just does what he's supposed to, this dude, I think, is put in a position to have a huge year for the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah. No, he absolutely is. And he's fighting as he nears and gets closer and closer to his own free agency. He's probably has that maybe not completely on his mind. He obviously has this year's club on his mind, but that has to be at least part of the equation. And with the pitches that he's going to get to hit, especially after the Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman portion of the lineup, you almost have to pitch to a guy like a Will Smith. And that is not a guy that you want to pitch to very much because he is one of the best offensive catchers in the game of baseball. He is incredibly talented, and the Dodgers are so lucky to have a catcher like Will Smith on their club, on their organization, in that lineup. He is a force to be reckoned with, and another one of those guys where you look up and down the Dodgers lineup as an opposing pitcher, and you don't want to pitch to any of these guys.
James Outman looked good today, didn't he? He's had a good spring. Quietly, James Outman's put together a good spring.
Yeah, yes. No, James Outman is a very, very good player for the Dodgers. And he's one of the rare guys that the Dodgers had called up, gave the necessary runtime to make the adjustments, and he was able to stick at the big league level. And he is somebody last season, I think the Dodgers are incredibly grateful they gave him that opportunity, because he is so valuable to this club. I don't think they can underestimate how valuable a guy like a James Outman is to the functionality of this team and to the chances of the Dodgers going forward to win a World Series, because his contract and his ability to perform opened up the opportunity for a Glasnow extension, or open up the opportunity for a
great
Yamamoto.
Point, Austin.
Yes, because you don't have to spend $20-30 million to go and re-sign a Cody Bellinger or go get another outfielder like that. James Outman is under team control for 5 years. Tyler Glasnow signed a 5-year extension. So
if James Outman has that exact same year every year until he becomes a free agent, what kind of contract does he sign?
So he'll be getting up there as far as age, but if he continues to put up a 4.5 WAR season, I mean, you're talking value-wise, $9 million per WAR. So that's talking about a $40 million value that you're getting. You're probably projecting a little bit of a decline in that, but you're talking about probably, especially with inflation, probably talking about $30 million plus dollars annually per year for a type of contract like that, or at least a really good, solid contract. Not saying that James Outman will get that, but that is the type of value that a season like that has for his club. And yeah, that is so valuable for the Dodgers and so underrated. And I'm glad to see him continuing to have this success in spring training. I have no doubt that he will continue to work on things and hope that he has a ton of success in his sophomore season for the Dodgers.
I want to put that into perspective, that the type of James, now it's one season. You got to keep doing it, right? We all know that. But if James Outman keeps doing what he's been doing, he's a $25-30 million a year player.
Easily.
Okay, hey, we have sorry, Austin. Go ahead.
I was just about to say something that we've mentioned in the past. Last year, by Fangraphs WAR, was one of the top 5 to 7 center fielders in the game of baseball.
Yep. Awesome. Daryl Jackson. Hey, Daryl is awesome. I love it when Daryl joins. I'm hoping Tyler Glasnow stays healthy and is elite, and I also hope that Yamamoto figures it out. We all hope for that, Daryl, no doubt about that. Hey, Michael Hoffer says, hey, yes, Will Smith did have a bit of a down year last year. I think the concussion protocols and just kind of wearing down a little bit definitely affected him. Plus, also, man, I hate making comments like this because I just hate being negative, but man, not having a backup catcher that could be functional, which Austin Barnes, I'm sorry, he wasn't, right? Am I being too negative, Austin?
No, he really struggled offensively, and they tried to use Will Smith.
But his defense wasn't even really that good, was it?
As possibly you can. To Will Smith or Austin Barnes?
Austin Barnes.
Yeah, no, last season was a real downer of a year for him, both offensively, and there wasn't that high upside of a defense, which typically for a catcher, a lot of clubs are looking for that defensive profile out of their catchers, and he just wasn't providing as a ton of value defensively. So I think that prompted the Dodgers to play Will Smith as much as they possibly could last season at the catcher position, which probably weared him down at times through the course of the season with the wear and tear of the season, with not wanting to rely a lot on an Austin Barnes at the catcher position. So I think that definitely probably had some sort of effect, but I still think Will Smith is incredibly valuable and still incredibly good. And he also, according to Fangraphs, put up a 4.4 WAR season last year too. Yeah. Exact same as James Outman.
But I will say that he had a lot of opportunities. Like Michael's saying, he came up with the second most runners, kind of like Max Muncy. He can hit 190 and strike out 1,000,000 times, because when he does hit a home run, it's like a 3-run home run because he comes up with so many guys on base. So I think Will Smith, mentally and physically, I think that definitely took a toll on him. And I think the fact that he came up with the second most hitters, like Michael's saying here, of any other hitter in the league, I think that plays into that WAR metric.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely came into play. So something to definitely evaluate through the course of the season. Yep. Will Smith, Austin Barnes, how that plays out. And that's one of those other aspects where you don't want to trade all of your trade pieces immediately, because I'm not saying that it will happen, but what if Will Smith deals with some sort of extended long-term period of injury? Do you have to make a move for a catcher at that aspect?
I think they play.
Or do you want to rely on a Hunter Fiducia and an Austin Barnes? Hunter Fiducia is really talented, and I'd like to see him get an opportunity. We'll have to wait and see what happens with the Dodgers. I don't want to deal too much in hypotheticals, though.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Hey, Jay says, smash that like button. Wait, hold on a second. We have a super chat to Motley. Appreciate both Casey and Austin's being both the staff aces and innings eater with new schedule. What are the top 3 things that went right this spring and the top 3 things that didn't go as hoped? The number one top thing that went exactly the way I was super happy about happening was Andy Pages. He is my number one takeaway from spring training, because honestly, I've told you many times over the winter, I had no read on his situation. I mean, I that was literally point blank my comment on it, and to the point where I was like, I made a comment a couple times like he's not even going to be healthy till June and that kind of thing, because I had no information whatsoever. And so literally when I saw him swing the bat in that first spring training game, I was like, holy crap, look at that. This is awesome, right? I mean, like literally we're on a show, Austin, and you're like, hey, man, he was swinging the bat the other day in a game. I don't know what that means, but I'm not sure that he's going to have to wait. And I'm like, okay, great. Then like 2 days later, we see him in spring training. And then not only do we see him, it's like, oh, yeah, Andy Pages is back, baby. Look at him go. That's number one for me, the most exciting part of it. Number 2, I think Tyler Glasnow has squarely proven to guys like me that just went, whenever we gave away Johnny DeLuca and Ryan Pepio, right? There's nobody that can argue why the Dodgers went and got Tyler Glasnow. You watched that crap that he was throwing out there yesterday. I mean, I say that in a like, holy cow, look at that, right? Okay, that was impressive. Tyler Glasnow, that dude has been super, super, super impressive. And then number 3 for me, it's become very clear that Shohei Ohtani is 100% healthy enough to hit this year. Those are the 3 things to me that I come out with that I am the most excited about.
Yeah, no, I'll reiterate that with the Tyler Glasnow. That was kind of the thing that stood out to me. Really apparent is his ace level stuff that he had. That was on full display for the Dodgers. It's absolutely nasty, and you got to see a little bit of it. You read some of the underlying numbers. I read his Sierra numbers over the past 5 seasons, which Sierra, if you're not familiar, ERA estimate. It is even more predictive than FIP and expected FIP. Those numbers are very consistent towards the top of the league, being in the low 3s or high 2s, very consistent. And he showed the effectiveness of his stuff. I think he's going to be comfortable for the Dodgers, and I think the Dodgers can rely on him to be the ace of the staff. And I think that is a huge development, having that ace to fortify your staff, as well as the success that Gavin Stone has had during the spring training, and kind of
there you go. How can I forget that?
I think fortifying down that comfortability with him being that 5th starter going into the season. I know there's a lot of questions as far as what's going to happen with Walker Buehler, which you could say is a little bit of a concern, a little bit of a negative, not because that's Walker Buehler's fault, just because there's uncertainty right now with that situation. But the development and success that Gavin Stone has showed with the difference in some of the stuff that he has, I think that is a huge development for the Dodgers, and one that if he can get some more experience at the big league level, and if he can show that the adjustments prove to be successful, man, how valuable of a deal is that going to be for Gavin Stone to have another pitcher to where you're going to have to make a decision. Okay, what do we do with the Gavin Stone, who we have 5-6 years of control left with all of these different pitchers that we have? We have a little bit too much of a surplus of pitching, which is the exact type of situation that you would get from getting a Jesus Luzardo. So I think both of those on the pitching side, as well as some of the development that we've seen, or some of the innings that we've seen, some of the younger guys like
Ramos
a Ben Harris. Good. Yeah, Ben Harris has really been successful in a lot of his outings. Juan Murillo has shown up and been good. Michael Hobbs, John Rooney, Alec Gamboa, all of these younger guys that haven't made their major league debut. Gowdy, absolutely. Kevin Gowdy has been really impressive during the course of spring training. I think that is really good. Their outfielders have been performing well in James Outman and Teoscar Hernandez during spring training. Shohei Ohtani has hit a couple of bombs.
He said 3.
Yeah, no, Shohei Ohtani has been incredible, and you've had a chance to see him and Andy Pages and Jose Ramos. I think Jose Ramos, especially early in spring training, really showed a lot of different tools. Austin Gauthier had the grand slam, and I think he's going to continue to show that he can be a good, solid professional that you can project to the big league level. All of those are really good, really incredible things that we've had a chance to see from the Dodgers. I think some of the negatives, because I think we're talking about three things.
Three things that haven't gone right.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the shortstop situation. I don't think that I don't think the Dodgers envisioned it to be at this point immediately to where they had to make a change during spring training. So that definitely is a little bit of a disappointment for the Dodgers.
No, not a little bit.
It's very much so.
Yeah.
And I know it's very much a disappointment for Gavin too, because of the journey that he has had. To finally get his opportunity absolutely sucks. So still wish him nothing but the best as he continues to go out and further for his big league career. We'll have to wait and see how the Dodgers do to adjust to that.
Yeah, so definitely three things that didn't go as hoped, as Tomatley says here. Number 1 is Gavin Lux at shortstop. Number 2 is Gavin Lux at second base. And number 3 would be Emmett Sheehan getting hurt and not having the spring that he needed to become at least a guy that was competing for that 5th spot. Those would be my 3 things.
Yeah, no, that is definitely a good list of 3 things. It's hard to come up with too much of a list for these guys, but those are some of the takeaways that you could have from this team without overreacting. Like you could say maybe a Yamamoto with some of the hits, but I think he's going to be fine with everything that he has, and I think he's still going to be a good, effective big league pitcher. So I'm not too concerned about that. So those are a lot of the takeaways. It has to be Gavin Lux. It has to do with some of the health with Walker Buehler, within Emmett Sheehan, and with some of with Brusdar Graterol being another one. I think that is a big loss for the Dodgers, at least for however long that's going to be. I'm glad to see that Blake Treinen's injury does not seem to be any sort of long-term injury, and I think he's going to come back and be healthy and successful. So not too many negatives that you can take away from camp. Obviously, there is the big negative at shortstop in that whole situation. But all in all, there's a ton more to be excited about than to be concerned with coming out of camp.
Hey, let me get back up to where I was at. David E. says, if not mistaken, wasn't Vanasco a major league deal? Does that mean minor league option is not an option? No, that means that he has to be on the 40-man, but it doesn't mean he has to be on the 26-man, and Ricky Vanasco does have minor league options, so he can be optioned down to the minor leagues. That is another, we've said this many times, the reason why Victor Gonzalez, Yency Almonte, and who was the third one that I'm missing here?
Caleb Ferguson were dealt was because they didn't have minor league options. The reason why the Dodgers have kept Alex Vesia and then also a guy like Ricky Vanasco is because they provide them flexibility in having minor league options to be able to send them up and down. Jay, smash that like button. Jay, I want to say it again in front of everybody here. I can't thank you enough for everything that you are doing for Dodgers Daily. It is so greatly appreciated. I cannot thank you enough, Jay. You're an absolute rock star. You have done just wonderful work for Dodgers Daily, so thank you so much. Wanted to make sure and say that in front of everybody on air. Denard says Gavin Lux will be fine on defense once he shakes off the rust. He's ready to be a dynamic hitter. I'm glad Denard said that. Now,
I'm not going to make excuses for Gavin Lux. He's a big boy. He's in the major leagues. He's making however much money he's making, which is a hell of a lot more money than I'm making, okay? I don't feel sorry for Gavin Lux. I love the young man. I communicate with him every once in a while. I've talked to him on several different occasions that he probably doesn't even remember, right? Okay, but yeah, I communicate every now and then with Gavin Lux via messages through here or there directly. Okay, so I love Gavin Lux. He's one of my favorites, but I'm not going to make excuses for Gavin Lux because it's been what it is, and I've said I squarely stand behind whatever it is the Dodgers feel like they have to do in this situation. Having said that, when Gavin Lux says this isn't a throwing problem, this is a reps problem, that's getting taken out of context. What he's actually saying there is, I can't fix the throwing problem until I get enough reps to where I feel comfortable enough to get my body to move properly to start making better throws. That's what he's saying when he's saying it's a reps problem and not a throwing problem. Yes, he knows the throws aren't good and they have to get better, but what he's trying to say is with the way that his body works and with the way he works, that's not going to happen consistently until he gets the reps that he needs. And I think that's a very fair and very correct and true statement to make.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely fair. And that's important to keep these guys and what they say in context as well. Don't take out some sort of short clip or some sort of short statement without truly trying to understand what they're trying to say. I think Gavin Lux is going to need to get a lot of those reps to get him comfortable, to get the movements back and ready to go. And I think some of the throwing errors and throwing mistakes that he's made through the course of the past couple of weeks that we've seen in spring training should start to correct himself.
Could.
Yes. So we'll have to wait and see. I still have a lot of confidence in him right now. It hasn't been working out. And the Dodgers have too high of expectations this year that I would understand whatever the Dodgers decide to do with that situation.
I'm going to say this, hoping he does not see this show. Okay, so I honestly think if he did, and he does have minor league options, I think if the Dodgers sent him down to AAA to get however many ground balls at shortstop, okay, I honestly think that's more of a show of confidence than it is if they leave him up at the major league level and don't play him very much. Because that tells me that, hey, Gavin, we still think that we agree with you, Gavin. We agree with you that all you need right now is reps. And then once you get these reps come about June, we're going to be good to go. We love you, brother. See you in June. I think that's what they're telling Gavin Lux. If I say Gavin Stone, forgive me. Just know that I'm talking about Gavin Lux here. I think that's the statement they would be making to Gavin Lux in that situation. Whereas if they keep him up with the big club, they're going to put Rojas there. They're going to put Kike there. He's going to be playing like every fourth day. I think at that point, that is a vote of no confidence, way more than if they try to go dig in with him at the AAA level, hit him extra, have Travis go out there and hit him extra ground balls every single day and see if they can get him right by June. I think that is a statement to him if they do that to him that we love you, Gavin. We believe in you. Go get your reps. See you in June.
He does have two minor league options where they very well easily could make that decision and decide to send him down. So that is a very real possibility that the Dodgers can make as far as whatever they think is best for the team right now and best for the future of the Dodgers and the future for Gavin Lux and Mookie Betts as well.
Which one would be the bigger vote of confidence for you, though?
I don't know.
See, if they want to go get you fixed, or if they want to leave you on the major league roster and not play you very much. Which one's actually the bigger vote of confidence?
I totally get your point. Sending him down and being like, yeah, no, we want to get you fixed.
I can tell you as a coach which one I am telling you I have more confidence in you with.
Yeah.
I'm trying to fix you because as a teacher, as a coach, as a parent, you always tell your kids, if I'm getting mad at you and frustrated with you, that's a good thing, right? Where you really have to start worrying is when I just stop even paying attention to you at all, because that tells you right then I'm done with you, right? And so if we're willing to take you down to AAA and hit you ground balls every day and evaluate how you're doing, that means that we still care about you. That still means we believe in you. Versus if we just go throw you in the corner on a major league roster then we're really not kind of paying a whole lot of attention to you at that point, and that's where you really have. I'm kind of looking at it from a coach's perspective, and that's just kind of how I see that. So.
Yeah, no, and I totally understand that point. I think that very well could be this decision that the Dodgers decide to go down.
Hey, Bob Student 10, thank you so much for joining. Craig, also, thank you so much for joining. Good evening to yourself. The Padres traded low-mid rotation guys, reliever and young outfielder. Not much for a guy who's looking injured in the past year. Yankees should not trade Spencer Jones. Nando 390, Chris Getz getting roasted on Twitter. Denard says, is it possible for the other 29 other teams to ask too much in trades for the Dodgers? You called that the Dodgers, what'd you call it?
The Dodgers tax?
The Dodgers tax. Absolutely. Is that a real thing?
It very well could be, yeah, especially because of how dominant the Dodgers and how much money that they are willing to spend. It very well can be a real thing that other organizations have, whether that's conscious or not.
Hey, how about this? Gregory asked if we have merchandise. Greg, I can order you a shirt. I'm getting ready to make a second order. Just get with me. Email me at casey.porter73 actually dodgersdaily73 at gmail.com. I will, matter of fact, I'm going to type that in right now. This is going to be a little bit clunky, but give me just a second and I will get this out there let me get the @ sign here. Of course, I'm under pressure and I'm going to choke.
We absolutely do have some merch. And I'm actually wearing some of the Dodgers Daily merch right here. I actually have a Dodgers Daily hat right here as well. We got a whole bunch of stuff here, and this isn't just any type of hat. This is a high quality material. This is a high quality material sweatshirt. Absolutely. I got this in the mail just the other day from Casey. So thank you very much for this. This is top-notch stuff. This is really good. So absolutely check us out, Dodgers Daily.
Have you ever sent something from Oklahoma to Michigan in the mail before?
I don't think I've ever been to Oklahoma, so I can't say that I've sent something in the mail from Oklahoma to Michigan before.
I could have drove that thing to Michigan and back in my 1997 Dodge Ram with the 8-foot bed that has the 5.8 Magnum in it that gets 11 and a half miles to the gallon. I could have driven that to Michigan and back for cheaper than it cost to put it in the mail.
I know. Yeah, that is. I did get pretty close to Oklahoma. I made it just Missouri, into Kansas. Yeah. Well, I just made it just into Kansas during last summer, and my big camper trailing that behind that we were taking with us on a road trip. Nice. So,
Bob Student 10, Yankees Dodgers get the give me the kitchen sink. Yeah, that's the Dodgers tax. Yang Yi, thank you so much for joining, Yang. So yes, Gregory, email me on that, and I will make an order for you and give me your address, and I'll make sure it gets sent to you. Yang Yi. So Dodgers could have offered Pepio and DeLuca for Cease with Dodgers initially wanted. I would rather have Glass now than of course
Dylan Cease.
Dylan Cease. And then who did you trade Margot for?
Margot, you traded them to Minnesota for Noah Miller. Was part of that trade.
He's a shortstop. He has depth.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be in the breakout game. So
he is.
You would have not had Noah Miller, which is a shortstop at the upper levels that's playing in the breakout game, and then you would have had Glass now instead of Cease. I think the Dodgers made the right decision there. Daryl Jackson, I think the other 29 teams are going to fleece the Dodgers in trades. They're going to try to. The Dodgers won't allow them. The Dodgers, like we've seen, they'll hold on to their prospects. Denard, if the current starting rotation is hitting all cylinders to start the season, would the Dodgers consider trading Walker Buehler on his walk-off year? No.
No, I don't. I can't envision
Not Walker
that.
Buehler, no way.
I totally get the idea of, hey, we want to get something for this guy before he enters free agency, especially because we have a lot of depth on the pitching side. What use can we have for him? I think it's become apparent for the Dodgers that pitchers can and do break down at times. So I think if you want to have as many options going into the 2024 postseason as you possibly can. And if you're trading Walker Buehler, you're trading him to another contender that you very well likely could have to face. And I think that would be the worst nightmare for the Dodgers, is to have to go up against Walker Buehler, who you traded when you are in World Series type of mode. So I can't envision that right now unless every single one of the Dodgers' young pitchers performs amazing and they have full full expectations and full confidence in them to pitch in postseason environments, which we saw last year. The Dodgers weren't confident in pitching Ryan Pepio in the playoffs. They chose Lance Lynn over Ryan Pepio in the playoffs, which means that they're going to want to rely on some of their veterans going into the postseason. I'm making a point right here.
You're trying to stoke the fire.
And that is exactly why they'll keep Walker Buehler. It makes a good point.
Awesome, Austin. Hey, Cole, good evening. Seems like Yoshi just needs to change up his pitch sequencing after the first trip through the order. I wouldn't disagree with that, and they will figure all that out. There is nobody better at figuring out sequences better than the Dodgers. And not just figuring out sequences, but also figuring out what sequence a guy can actually execute based on all the advanced analytics. That's really where advanced analytics come into play, is because they look at the advanced analytics that a guy has on, the movement and the shapes of his pitches. Then they figure out, okay, well, what pitch sequences can we put together that this pitcher can execute? And then they do that, and they figure out those sequences that he can execute based on the hitter's game plan. And so then they come up with the hitter's game plan based on, we're going to sequence this guy with that based on what our pitcher can do. And that process right there, as complicated as I made that sound, way more complicated than it actually is. The Dodgers are better than anybody else in the world at that at every single level. I've seen it with my own eyes, and it is massively impressive. If you don't believe me, just go listen to the Sean Coyne interview. Go listen to the Darren Olinger interview. Go listen to some of these pitchers I've interviewed, and it's like, oh my God, these guys are smart, right, Austin?
Oh yeah, no, they understand exactly what they're doing. They understand the exact type of movement and what that means for each one of the different pitches. That's something that I'd love to get a little bit of a better understanding of. The Dodgers have a mastery on that. They fully understand what is going on and what they have to do and what works best off of each other, and they're working on different things, experimenting with different movements. Yeah. That is a whole nother side of the game of baseball. When we're talking about trying to find statistics that are better predictors of success, these are some of the statistics that are starting to become more and more popular, that are becoming even better predictors than the actual results on the field for future success, which is why teams like the Dodgers are leaning so heavily into this. There's a new wave of analytics coming, and we have a little bit of a glimpse of it. The Dodgers have full knowledge of a lot of these advanced stages of analytics. Their pitching coaches are the best, and they know how to communicate it properly, and their pitchers have a good understanding of that and how to make them the best possible pitchers that they can.
Hey, we've got about 10 more minutes of this show, then we're going to get out of here. Quite a few comments to get to. Bob Student 10, Yamamoto is going to have growing pains, but the stuff is elite. Pryor will have him in top shape by October when it matters. Akira LAD, all the way from Austin?
From Japan?
From Japan. Akira LAD, all the way from Japan. Yamamoto will be pitching psychology control in South Korea. Also says that Yamamoto is ready to be an ace for the Dodgers. You can hear my Dodgers dogs. They're ready for Daddy to take them for a walk. We're going to get to that here in just a minute. Chris Fauborg, how about Mookie getting picked off at second base? What was that? Smith had back tightness. Yang Yi. All three Yamamoto starts. Barnes caught. Smith has never caught Yamamoto. In the Cactus League, that'll be an interesting adjustment. Yang Yi says it may be different spring training in Japan. I believe Ohtani in his first spring training, he did really bad. That's a good point to make there. Empire Jeff TV, your guys' content is top-notch. I constantly learn from you guys. Keep up the great work. We can't tell you how much we appreciate that. We enjoy every second we do this. The second that Austin and I stop enjoying doing this will be the second we stop doing this, right? So, hey, we enjoy doing every second of this. Having said that, we also do work. I mean, not every second is fun. There also is a lot of work to what we do in preparing and getting the knowledge and learning all this stuff. So, yeah, we do a lot of work behind it, too. So when somebody like you, Empire Jeff TV, makes a comment like that, it means the world to Austin and I, right?
Oh, absolutely. It does mean a lot. And we do try to read as many, if not all, the comments that we can that you guys leave. And when you bring that positively, it does just fuels us even more to be able to do this type of work, to do this type of content that we already love doing. So we greatly appreciate that.
And yeah. So Bob Student 10, the Dodgers chats, blogs, fans are elite. I would agree with that. And Chris Fallberg says to smash that like button. Leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, become a subscriber, and make sure and turn on your notifications. Hey, Moose, 1032. Good evening, Moose. Thank you so much for joining. Yamamoto is tipping pitches today. Someone pointed out he held his glove a certain way every time he threw a strike. He's no longer holding his glove out front of him. Keep that in mind. Yeah, that's a good point to make. Mike Boyer, is there a chance Dalton Rushing takes over Austin Barnes' roster spot, or they keep him for Kershaw's sake? So the answer to that is no. Austin Barnes is going to be on the 26-man roster until his contract is up. Number two, even if it wasn't him, it would likely be Chris Oakey or Hunter Fiducia. If it wasn't one of them, likely the next guy in line would be Diego Cartaya.
Yeah, Dalton Rushing is coming.
Yes.
Dalton Rushing is very, very good. He has not played above Great Lakes. He has not played above high A yet. He still has to make that adjustment over double A, from high A to double A, which a lot of people say is the most difficult adjustment to make, to go from high A to double A. So we still got to go over that. He's still got a couple more hurdles. He's still a little ways away. When he does come, though, I had a chance to see him every single game last season in Great Lakes. I got to see him in person at probably close to 40 of the games last season. And especially when the lights shine the most in Midwest League Championship, he is elite. Very good. Not ready for Major League Baseball quite yet.
Well, there's just so many great players to jump over. I mean, it's kind of like, in a golf tournament, you say, well, if I shoot under par, I'm only like 5 strokes back, but then you look at it and you go, yeah, but I got 6 guys to jump. It's not necessarily the strokes that you have to make up to get into first place. It's that all these other 5 guys that are in front of you also have to not be as good as you because they're in front of you already, right? That's kind of where Dalton Rushing is at right now. Hey, Cole, good evening. Dodgers should have left Muncy and Smith at home. Travel and illness/injury are not good teammates. Yeah, no doubt about that. Showtime, thank you so much for joining. Nando390 says this season had me feeling pumped. All the way from pumped to nervous. I'm ready to get hurt again. Yeah, I think there is some nervousness going around with the infield stuff, maybe with a little bit of the Yamamoto thing today. It just does kind of feel like, oh my gosh, now we have to win the World Series, right? Instead of enjoying the process of getting to the World Series, which is almost like you just want to fast forward to the World Series and get there and win it, because then it'll be almost like more of a relief than it will be exciting, right?
Yeah, but don't forget to sit back and enjoy this portion, the beginning of the Shohei Ohtani era of Dodger baseball, because there's going to be still a lot of good baseball. And baseball is a fun game. Baseball is enjoyable. When you take a step back and watch your team, especially when they're having a lot of success, enjoy these moments. Don't spend all of your time, although the focus has to be on the World Series. Enjoy the regular season as well.
Come
Enjoy
to Dodgers,
all the
Dogs,
winning.
and get all your cuss words out, and let's have a hell of a good time. Let's get all of our frustrations out, and then once the game starts, let's have a good time, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can have a lot of fun at these games, which I certainly do when I go to all of the different games that I go to. It is a ton of fun, and enjoy it. Enjoy it with some friends. Enjoy it with some family, because this game, there's a reason why it's as popular as it is. It is a good, solid, amazing game of baseball, the best game ever invented. Have some fun with it too.
Both games in Korea should be an extension of spring training. Why did the major leagues make those 2 games regular season games? Money. First of all, Korea is a baseball crazy nation, and so now you're going to go into Korea, you're going to sell billions of dollars worth of major league merchandise, and you're going to do it with a brand that is the most international brand maybe of any sporting team in the world, with the Dodgers. Money is why you do that. And the Dodgers, I think, they're going to try to win the game, no doubt about it. I mean, obviously you need to win. It's a game that matters, but I think Rojas let the cat out of the bag that it's not going to be, I mean, they're not going to overreact if things don't go great in Korea. BC, past couple, been a decade at least. Yeah. Hey, Akira, wow, pretty nice to hear you greeting me. Thank you. Well, we thank you from joining all the way from Japan. Akira says, I'm enjoying your live show. It's an informative program. Well, thank you so much for that great comment. Frank C., we've already talked about the backup position with Barnes. I think that first guy would be Hunter Fiducia or Chris Oakey. And so I think Dalton Rushing right now, of course, like you said, he's talented. He's going to jump. But I think as of right this second, he would probably be sixth on the depth chart for the Dodgers. You have Will Smith, Austin Barnes, Chris Oakey, Hunter Fiducia, Diego Cartaya, then Dalton Rushing. I think as we speak right this second, that would be the depth chart. Agreed?
I absolutely agree.
Okay, so let's keep going. Sammy Boy Smith, thank you so much for joining. I hope says they're the tall side. The best news for me, says Norm, from today's game was seeing Outman taking an outside slider and going opposite field, no doubt. To Motley, I think that's the right play. Meanwhile, Rojas at short, and I don't think we'll complain. The only problem with that is you're only going to get about 100 games out of Rojas, so you're still going to have to figure out what you're going to do with the other 60. To Motley, that's the one I was looking for. Disappointed about Sheehan. Yes, probably, but he'd be on innings restriction anyway, so it could work out for the best. I've said it a couple times. It's going to be a carbon copy of 2022. When he started this, Emmett Sheehan knows his body. He knows what happened in 2022. I've been telling you this story. This is probably the fourth time I've told this. He knows what happened to him in 2022. He knows he started out the season with shoulder problems. He let it rest. After he tried to force it out there, didn't work out as well. Let it rest, and after he let it rest, he was simply fantastic. So it's a carbon. I've been telling you guys, it's a carbon copy of that, and he did throw today. So don't worry about that. That is hey, to Motley, another super chat, $10. Thank you so much. Appreciate both Casey and Austin's being both. We've already read that comment. So let's keep going. Akira, the 3 games in South Korea will be covered by Asahi TV Channel 5 in Japan. There's another reason why that is a regular season game. Really excited about Josue Paula. Andrew Friedu, thank you so much for joining, Andrew, every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. Future left fielder, we'll see. Yeah, he's still really, really, really young. Let me scroll back up here and see if there's anything that I missed. There is not right there. Okay, and so let's scroll back down. We are almost done with the chat. As I scroll down, Gregory Austin, I love the hoodie. How much did that cost? That hoodie is $30. I also have a short sleeve hoodie just like it. Austin, do you have that you can show?
It is way back in the other side of the room, so okay. I don't have that right now.
Right here.
But
no, this
you
is
have it on display right
See
there.
right here. This is the short sleeve hoodie. Okay, see how it's short sleeves right there? Short sleeve hoodie. Austin, show them the long sleeve.
Yeah, this is the other Dodgers Daily hoodie that we have, and the Dodgers Daily hat. Top-notch gear, as I would like to say. Gear worthy of a channel that has close to 3,000 subscribers. Hey. Just as another point out for you guys. No, it is really nice stuff. Thank you so much for sending that, Casey.
Yeah. Hey, and if you want me to order you something, leave me an email. Tell me what you want. I will order it for you, and then I will send it to your house on your email. We can figure out how to get the payment done from there. Maybe you could leave a super chat or something like that. We can see how that works. So if you want that, just let me know. Email me, and I can get you all of this wonderful merch. Hey, Chuck Huddleston, why hasn't Paez played for the big club for several days? Because today was the last Cactus League game, and they're actually trying to get all of their lineups together as far as the big club. They actually optioned Andy Paez down to the minor leagues the other day, which that's nothing to be alarmed about. That was, we've told you forever, there was never going to be room for Andy Paez on the 26-man roster, no matter how good of a spring he had. Remember, James Outman was not going to break with the big league club last year. As good of a spring training as he was having, but what opened up for him was Gavin Lux getting hurt. That opened up his spot. That's the only reason he got on the roster. He took advantage of it. So barring something like that, that was never going to be a situation to where Andy Paez was going to break with the club, and so that's why you haven't seen him as of late. Deuce, hey, good evening, Deuce. Yamamoto won't be throwing fastballs down the middle on the first pitch when it counts. I would agree with that. Chris Fallberg, you guys are the best. Thanks for what you do. Dodgers also played 2 exhibition games in Korea, says Angelo. Mike Boyer, thanks for answering my questions. I learn every time I listen to your show. Well, thank you so much, Mike. I love it that you join, and thank you for your wonderful comments. Hey, normally, given that the Yanks wouldn't trade for Jones for Cease, is there one Dodgers prospect the team would not trade for a star? No.
Not for a.
If it's a position they felt like they needed, there is nobody they wouldn't trade.
That is correct.
The two guys that they would. Let me say this: the two guys I think they were obviously Miller's out, okay, because he's in your starting rotation. But the two guys that they were, I think, probably inquired about the most, that they just immediately said, nope, not happening, were Kyle Hurt and Emmett Sheehan. I think they got. I've had some birdies flying around. I can pretty much tell you this is the case, that there were a lot of teams that wanted those two, and the Dodgers immediately, as soon as those names came up, nope, forget it. Let's move on to somebody else, or let's hang up the phone.
Yeah, and those two performed incredibly well this past season. But with the Dodgers, they have an evaluation of what they have. They have certain guys that they don't want to trade, but they also want to make the moves that will help them win the 2024 World Series. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. The Dodgers like to keep the cards close to their vest, and we'll see what happens.
I'm tired, brother. We had Bedlam baseball last night. OSU kicked OU's ass, by the way, in Norman. That was a hell of a lot of fun. We had Cowgirl softball tonight at 6. I had parent-teacher conferences last night. I've got 2 pit bulls that are a little bit older than 1 year old. And so I'm exhausted, and I got to take my Dodgers dogs on a walk. So I love you, Austin, but we got to go, right?
Sounds good.
We will see you this weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in, and go Dodgers.